I am going to show you something that is going to shock the world. This is a communication from Switzerland and Geneva, from the United Nations and the World Health Organization to the Department of State and the Secretary of State of the United States. This is what is happening to us right now. This is their plan. It says it pretty clearly here, and you can see that they were trying to look for something to take advantage of to vaccinate the world. To vaccinate the world. And this is in 1976. This is the year I was born. This is just a couple months after I was born. April 12th, 1976, this was sent, and this says, in further response, Reftel A, I believe that's the telegram, mission translation of lead story in past weekend edition of two Geneva newspapers, Tribune de Genève, appears below as example of Swiss coverage being given to U.S. influenza situation. WHO's press release on the April 7th to 9th flu meeting, in contrast to the official report contained in Reftel's, meaning the telegrams B and C. Also given below, along with a list of participants WHO attended, or who attended April 7th to 9th meeting in Geneva. Swine influenza hesitation at WHO following the decision. The influenza experts met at WHO headquarters, Geneva, from 7 to 9 April to discuss measures to be taken following the discovery in New Jersey of a certain number of cases due to a new virus, the A-New Jersey-76 virus, whose antigens correspond to the A swine virus of the Spanish flu of 1918. It is known that the American specialists fear a new flu pandemic and have advised President Ford to order manufacture of a specific vaccine with a view to vaccinating the entire American population. On the one hand, to protect the population, on the other, to prevent the spreading of the virus. At the moment, it seems that the New Jersey virus has not spread beyond the original focus, but only careful surveillance, first in the United States during the spring, then in the southern hemisphere during the southern winter, will determine the immediate risk this virus represents to man. Premature? Question mark. The expert meeting in Geneva considered that it was certainly premature to envision the immediate use of a vaccine until there are more indications that this virus constitutes a threat to the rest of the world. However, wishing to assume the responsibility for leaving the whole world, with exception of the U.S., unprotected in the face of this hypothetical menace. Hypothetical menace, folks. The experts recommend the preparation of strains which could be used for such a vaccine and to stockpile the vaccine. This, of course, poses considerable economic problems, since such stockpiling represents the immobilization of substantial capital which could become a total loss. It is true that in matters of national defense, one does not hesitate, whereas in the question of public health, prophylactic measures are often debated. There probably is time to produce a vaccine, but it is not certain that it will be possible to manufacture the quantities needed for the whole world. If countries such as England, France, Germany, and Switzerland cannot accomplish it, one can imagine that the countries of the Third World, or even the USSR and China, would have to do. It is wishful thinking to hope that, with the exception of the US, one could vaccinate the whole world. It will be necessary to establish an order of priority of persons who should be vaccinated with the available stocks. The flu experts have raised the question whether, in case of scarcity of the specific vaccine, one should resort to chemoprophylaxis of the antidamine type to protect persons who cannot benefit from the vaccine. Chemoprophylaxis has never really stood the test, although laboratory tests and certain clinical trials gave hope that it might constitute an interesting means of preventing the flu, or at least attenuating its effects. Does that sound familiar, folks? A little hydroxychloroquine? On the other hand, taking into account the classical bacterial complications caused by the bacteria, Haemophilus influenzae, and golden staphylococcus, and of a number of cases provoked not by the flu virus, but by a particular germ called Mycoplasma pneumoniae. I'm sorry if I can't read that. The experts have recommended the stockpiling of antibiotics, which are considered effective against these bacterial germs. This is obviously a wise measure for the mortality rate during the Spanish flu of 1918 to a large extent due to bacterial complications at the time when no antibiotics were available. Certainly with no antibiotics, the mortality rate caused by the Spanish flu of 1918 would not have been so high. Nevertheless, the flu virus alone can bring about a certain percentage of death, since in an individual with a low resistance, it can provoke paralysis of the defense systems, leading to malignant syndrome of the infectious disease, which can, however, in exceptional cases, be fought by intravenous administration of cortisone. This is pretty scary stuff, folks. So let's just move on here. Each country will have to organize in accordance with its structure and financial and logistical means an emergency plan based on health infrastructure systems, and one must expect a variety of options according to the socio-cultural and political orientation of certain countries. Certainly it is not possible to imitate the United States, which has a remarkable health infrastructure system, even though we got the most dead in the world now, huh, folks? What's going on here? For the first time able to prevent, and Switzerland, we must first continue to produce vaccine against A. Victoria, which has not yet disappeared. Then we must obviously prepare the vaccine against the New Jersey A virus culture in greater quantities. We must keep in touch with epidemiological surveillance data in this regard. We benefit by the excellent surveillance network developed some years ago by the WHO. So they've been surveilling the world since the 70s or 60s, probably longer than that. To be right, we should, for the first time in history, be able to come up with the means to prevent, in large measure, one of the greatest scourges of mankind. For the time being, obligatory vaccination is out of the question, but it is interesting to note that the legislation enables the Confederation, in unusual epidemiological circumstances, to decree obligatory vaccines without asking the opinion of the cantons. Otherwise, it is up to the cantons to follow the development of the situation and to come up with the necessary measures. So the unusual epidemiological circumstances. Are we in one of those? And this is the press release that they talked about the flu strain that was coming to New Jersey. Hotspot New Jersey, hotspot New York. Sound familiar, folks, here? So this is saying right here that the WHO wants to vaccinate the world. They didn't even know what they were going to vaccinate it against. They just wanted to vaccinate it. So, I mean, this is clear and convincing evidence that the WHO decided they wanted to, and I'm just highlighting that, so if you want to screenshot it and you want to go to this actual document, you can. And you want to show your friends and your family. You want to show the local police, the politicians, the people who are being duped, all of America, that this plan has been alive since I was 2 months old and I'm 44. Wake up.